Hey everyone, John Roca here. Pluto TV is the leading free streaming television service. Watch over 100 TV channels and thousands of movies on demand, all completely free. Pluto TV never asks for a credit card. You don't even need to sign up to watch free. Pluto TV is the easy and completely legal way to watch your favorite TV shows and hit movies for free. What are you waiting for? Never pay for TV again by downloading Pluto TV. You can download Pluto TV for free on all of your favorite devices today, including your phone, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, smart TVs, PlayStation, and anywhere else you stream.
Brad Gilmore, he challenged me to movie trivia.
So Frank, there was something that we kind of discussed before that I wanted to just lay out on the table here. My, what would you call it, strong suit?
Brad Gilmore, he thinks he knows Back to the Future, which is only like 3 movies, so that's pretty easy.
It will be an all Back to the Future rundown Schmoedown.
Frank Janisch. I'm going to take you down brick by brick, block by block.
They are very nice to each other, aren't they? Just pleasant and sweet?
You go put on your little blazers and your little plastic loafers.
Oh, brother! Brad Gilmore brought the rundown to a whole nother level.
That's simply not going to happen here, little boy. We'll run along and do something else with your time.
And let's get ready to run down.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frank Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. This is it episode 109? Did I get that right? I might have gotten that right, or I might be way off, but I am Brad Gilmore. It's all right, I don't keep track. 106, I was close. I don't keep track of these things. That's what the statistician is here for, Frank Janisch. But I appreciate it. But I am Brad Gilmore. I'm your host, and once again, I am joined by Chicago's favorite son, Frank Janisch.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, and let us give a round of applause for Mr.
That's heavy.
Participation Trophy himself.
That's heavy.
Frank Janisch.
Heavy.
Now, I didn't know that they gave out medals in pewter. What ranking was that? What ranking was that?
This
That's
was
gold, silver, bronze, and then there's pewter.
You know what? I'm gonna wear this for the entire show now.
They actually put that up close to the camera. Put it up close to the camera. That's actually a beautiful medal, though. That's actually a really pretty medal. So congratulations, Frank. Tell us how it was. How was it?
It sucked.
Yeah?
It sucked,
What was your time?
Horrible. I don't even want to say. But but my goal was to finish, not to have a great time this time. Right. But next year, I'm gonna have a great time, and a great time. So
okay, and a great time is had by all, and I'm sure someone who's having a fantastic time is Mr. Yeah,
that's what they do. That's what they do.
We're gonna show another trophy here in a moment. But Mr. Chris Clark, our producer extraordinaire, how you doing?
I am doing awesome. I'm not using my favorite word, Brad. Don't bait me into that. But look, you guys rocked it last week with talking about Bibbs, that match, and Whitney and that match, and your guys' pure ignorance on who Mark Hoyk was. But you know what? I cannot wait to see how awesome you guys do today and this week. And this, you know what? This week was actually really, really intense. I can't wait to just let you guys dive into this. Let's rock this sucker, Brad. Rock it to the end of time.
And rock it to the end of time that we will. And it's funny that you bring up the word time because Frank Janisch, we are just
we're
about a week away. Well, it's a hell of a spice. We're about a week away. You and I, mano y mano, which doesn't mean man to man, which means hand to hand. Because I know this because I took Spanish classes. But we are about a week away from our Back to the Future match. This is why I'm donned in my UFC walkout gear because I'm ready. I'm ready for it. You know, I'm ready to
jump over the octagon and
I'm ready to jump over the
stands?
octagon. Now check this out. You're an idiot. It comes from upbringing. Your parents are probably idiots
That's great.
too. Is on the back of this shirt, and I'm ready. I am ready.
Does it really on the back?
It is on the back. Would you like for me to show you?
That's great. Yeah, could you?
I don't know if I can do
this. This is great for the audio. This is great for the audio listeners. Yeah.
So, listeners, I'm stripping down.
Oh boy, that's a.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's not that great. Trust me. Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah. Oh yeah, it says your parents are probably idiots. That's a great shirt. That is a great shirt.
It's a great shirt, and it's available exclusively at bradjgilmore.com. So go pick up
is that off of Squarespace?
No, it's a Wix website. It's a Wix website.
Okay, it's a Wix. Okay.
But you know, me and Michael Che or whoever does those commercials, or Jay Farrow, whichever one it is, we're all in the same boat together. But anyway, we are about a week away, and I'm going to on this show reveal once again. If you're watching us on video, this is kind of optimal for you to see this. We'll tweet out a picture at SD Rundown. Yeah, I said it. SD Rundown on Twitter. But this is the official Back to the Future Trivia Championship of the world. And we're going to be deciding the champion. Look, the clocks are on the side, 88 miles per hour. We're going to be deciding the champion.
Have you figured out how much shipping's going to cost?
You know, I haven't really looked into that option because I'm not very worried about it, to be honest with you. I'm not very worried about it. But you know what, Frank Janisch? Okay. I will make sure. I'm a man of my word. This belt was explicitly commissioned for...
Explicitly, that's...
I don't know if I used that right, but it was explicitly commissioned for this match. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited about this match. Of course, Robert Meyer Burnett and Mr. William the Beast Bibiani, the current Movie Trivia Schmoedown champion of the world, will be hosting the show. And actually, just days before his big championship match.
A week?
So, the week before. Yeah, about 5-6 days before his big championship match against John Outlaw Roca. Very exciting stuff. Who's going to walk into the spectacular as El Campeón, which is another Spanish term. It means champion. I don't know if you knew that, Frank Janisch.
Really?
But
I thought, okay. That meant camper.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just be quiet. Yeah. Know your role, shut your mouth.
Okay.
Know your role, shut your mouth. But
how do you say that in Spanish?
Know your role and cállate la boca. That's how you say it. I knew half of it. So give some props here. Anyway, thank you, Miss Trujillo, Senora Trujillo. But let's talk about the week that was in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, the week of October the 8th, 2018. Got some news that we got to break down for all of our fine listeners and viewers here on the Collider Podcast Network. Let's talk about it. November 1st is going to be the launch of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown official website. Let's talk about this website for a second, Frank Janisch. You're the insider. I know the commish, the kind of commish Christian Harloff calls you all the time. He drops knowledge on you. Y'all are texting buddies. Y'all probably Facebook chat each other, Snapchat, Insta DM, sharing little videos and stories and boomerangs back and forth. Tell to me about it. What is the lowdown on the Schmoedown website?
Well, from my understanding, it's just going to be a central spot for everything regarding the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Similar, I don't know, I'm thinking similar to what the group is, but I think more on a more visceral level. It's all be laid out. There'll be other pages. I will have some stuff up there regarding stats and perhaps rankings as well. There'll be news. Yeah, there'll be new stuff up there. If I don't know how much I can say but
don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Not again. Not again. So
well, you know what though? I think that it's all okay because you got a shout out on the Schmoedown proper this week.
I did. It caught me by surprise. Yes.
So we'll get to there when we get to there. But that it seems awesome. What do you think, Chris Clark? Do you like the idea? There's going to be a hub, a home base for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, not just for those in the MTS Facebook page. It's going to be all over the place, Christopher Clark.
It's actually going to be really, really... This is something that was needed. I feel like a website that's neatly organized and has maybe not just stats, but has player profiles of each player, every match that they appeared in. Have certain kind of make it like a Wikipedia for the Schmoedown, where people can easily go there, find out who a competitor, what matches that competitor was in, not just the stats, but everything that you need to know about the competitor, their weaknesses, their tales of the tape. You could go there and it could be an invaluable resource to anything that you want for the Schmoedown. And I feel like this is such a necessity that I wish we had sooner, but I cannot wait to see what is in store for this website and how all this stuff is integrated. If it's videos, if it's little tiny, like, it could be anything. And I feel like just if it's all organized and it's all neatly laid out, this could actually help the Schmoedown grow, because maybe some people don't necessarily have time to watch every single match. This is a much more digestible thing to kind of catch people up and encourage them to watch past episodes if it's laid out in the correct format. So a website is a huge necessity to anything artistic that you're doing. And this is just the next step for the Schmoedown. It is a TV show, and any TV show, any brand needs a website that isn't like a Facebook group that you can... The Facebook group, as much as I like the Facebook group, it's terribly organized in terms of how you can search for stuff and where the topics are and where the discussions are. With a website, it'll just be better for somebody.
More professional.
It's just more professional, and it'll be just more cohesive for a new viewer. So it has so much potential, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
You know, I mean, I agree with you 100%. What I'm going to see or look for from the Schmoedown website is kind of like, you know, another Collider brand, Pro Wrestling Sheet. That's where I go to get all my wrestling news. If I miss Raw, SmackDown, I go over to Pro Wrestling Sheet, see what's been going on there. I listen to Collider Body Slam like you could probably listen to the Schmoedown Rundown if you miss something. But I think that having a centralized hub is a great idea. And it's probably something that's needed to happen for a long time, but better late than never, absolutely. And I think that even having just, you know, branded content or site-specific content from contributors, articles, you know, there's always these great bloggers and these great pontificators on the Schmoedown who like to type up their analyses of what they see. And I would like to have original blog posts and maybe, you know, written interviews with guys, you know, if they're not here on the Schmoedown Rundown on a weekly. You know, maybe they have another outlet for the Schmoevillians out there who want to hear about all things Schmoedown related. So I'm excited about the website. Once again, that's November the 1st. November the 1st, it goes down. But let's talk about something that we're all kind of a little bit upset about. You know, I think more than a little bit. Frank, I want to throw it to you because you know more details than anybody about it. But JTE, Little Evil, is done for the year due to an accident. He's been replaced by Lon's brother, Jonathan, and their team name are the Harris Brothers, original, and they will keep the 1-0 record and move forward in the Anarchy tournament. But let's talk about JTE first. Frank, give us the details that you know.
I know that he was in an accident. He tweeted about it, and there was a GoFundMe, I believe. So if you want to help out JTE with medical bills and whatnot, I think you head over to his Twitter, and you can find out how you can do that exactly. Yeah, even though he was able to go back to work at Screen Junkies, he's just not able to compete in the Schmoedown for the rest of the year due to the fact that it's the end of the year, and so there's really no. So that means obviously he's done with the team tournaments, and he's not going to be able to compete in the singles tournament, which will encapsulate the rest of the year as well as Spectacular. But there's really nothing more to it than he just had an accident, and you know, it's unfortunate. If you were, I think you can hear more about it through his Twitter page and whatnot. So you can go over there and look that up if you're so inclined. But we're wishing nothing but the best for JTE and a speedy recovery.
Now, what do you think, though, this means for Lon Harris going forward? I mean, now he's got his brother there, an unproven commodity, but there's already instant chemistry. You know, the whole point of the Anarchy tournament was supposed to have new teams, you know, different partners, mix it up, maybe strange bedfellows, if you will. And this is not a strange bedfellow at all. This is a familiar bedfellow. This is a familial bedfellow in Jonathan Harris. I think that this kind of gives Lon an advantage. I don't know how good Jonathan is. I guess we're going to see that, especially in a team environment. We've seen other people try to step in big team situations. I think about Bald Brian and, you know, delivering, but not be able to deliver at that high level just yet because it was a first-timer for him. What do you think? Do you think this gives Lon an advantage, or is it sort of a disadvantage?
I would like to think it's an advantage since it's your brother. You would know him better than anybody else in terms of movie knowledge, perhaps, I would think, at least a little bit. So you know your strengths and weaknesses, you know what his preferences are when it comes to movies and where the gaps might be between both of them. So I would like to think it's an advantage, but I don't know how much of an advantage it is, though, if he's brand new to the Schmoedown. I don't know how much he's watched the Schmoedown before, if he ever has. I would assume a couple, since his brother's been in it a few times now. But again, it's always different when you're under those lights and you have Christian counting down. It's a different animal. I don't know anything about Jonathan Harris. I don't know if he's a on-camera personality or what. I didn't really do that much digging into it. But going back to their team name, very original. But also, I did see someone comment that they should have called themselves the Super Harris Brothers. So that would have been a little more clever.
That would have been a little more clever. I'm trying to think. I think there's been a Harris Brothers before. I really feel like there's some team that's been the Harris Brothers.
From the wrestling world, you mean?
I think. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Hey, Chris,
I'm sure there's a set of Harris Brothers out there.
Oh, you know what? I'll do it here. I got it here. I'm going to type in the Harris Brothers. I think that they were a wrestling team. I really do. The Harris Brothers. Okay, it comes up. Let's see. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like there was a Harris Brothers. There is a Harris Brothers. They are American professional wrestlers. I was right.
Oh,
the Harris Brothers, yes. They're at 55 years old and they're twins.
The other thing, that's interesting. The other thing that came of this was a bit of a small and tiny fraction of the fans originating.
No. Yeah. I'm not going to let you just say smiley and get away
Smiley. Wow.
Smiley. I enjoy that. Okay, I had to just call attention to it. Keep going, but
I was surprised I kept on talking without anything happening.
I know, but for a minute, it took me a second to hit my ears. You know, it was like, did I just hear what I just heard? I think I did. You know, Smiley, but continue.
But this was originally announced on the Patreon before it hit the rest of the Schmoedown community, and someone brought up the fact that they didn't like the fact, or think it was right, that the Harris Brothers were going to retain the 1-0 record because, JTE and Lon Harris earned that 1-0 record. And Christian referenced back to when Team Heroes had the rotating trio of Schnepp, Campia, and Robert Meyer Burnett. Rest in peace, John Schnepp. But it's just a weird situation. This is a real life event. This isn't like anything that was made up or contrived for theatrical purposes. Also, if you feel that way, then that they don't deserve the 1-0 record, then basically you're saying that they don't deserve to be in the second round, therefore that he should be out of this team, should not even exist, and take the cannoli, or they're playing take the cannoli, right? So they should get the forfeited win then, so I don't think that's the way to go, and I think this is fine, them keeping the 1-0 record, because Lon was one half of that. It's a completely different thing if you had to replace the team, which you're not going to do, but it's a silly little thing. I get it, but if we just think about it a little bit longer, I think we can make some sense
but my
of this.
thing is this: what does it really matter?
Sure.
What does it matter? Somebody tell me what it matters. Then here, give me the case other than like, okay, say they don't continue the 1-0. What's the difference?
Right, it's going to be 0-0. It's going to be 0-0, and exactly, yeah.
So I think it's silliness. Go ahead, Chris.
It's just a name change. It's basically Rotten Tomatoes and MODOK. It's a name change with a different player.
The name change and just tag in.
Yeah, it's a name change. I don't understand what everybody's deal was with that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. It's just a name change.
I agree. I don't see what's in a name, as they just said. Would a rose by any other name smell as sweet? I think that it would.
Oh boy. Oh god.
Well, I think that it would. So why don't we talk about this gauntlet qualifier for the singles tournament? We talked about it last week that one player will get to draw a magic number and automatically get into the tournament to battle in the first round, but the other 4 competitors will scrap it out in one day, 3 matches in a day, determining who gets the last spot. And we know the competitors now. We know who it is. We know it's going to be Janine the Machine. That's a tough task, brother. We know it's going to be the boss, Ben Bateman. It's pretty huge. That's pretty massive that Ben's are not already in the tournament. We know it's going to be Chance Ellison. We know it's going to be the Professor, Lon Harris. And we know it's going to be the wild man, Blue Fairy himself. Well, Barry's Josh Makuga. Josh Makuga, guy who I said I wanted in this tournament.
Yeah.
I said I wanted him in the singles tournament because you never know when he can make a deep run. But this is very interesting. Let's think about this. Let's chew on this meat for a little bit. Let's just do it. Let's talk about who we think would benefit most from getting that automatic bye into the tournament, getting that magic number. Who you think?
Oh, Josh Makuga.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Because all the other 4 players seem to be, they could scrap it out to earn.
Oh yeah.
But I think you just got to give Josh you got to give him, just give him the shot. You know what I mean? Sometimes you want to put. You remember The Longest Yard? Sometimes you just want, you think that you're going to play a tune-up game, and then the cons end up winning the whole thing.
Right.
And I think that Josh Makuga could be the meme machine and just run through the Texas State guards. I think it's very possible. I would like to see it. So give him the bye. And I think that out of the remaining 4 competitors, if Ben Bateman is not in the singles tournament, it is a travesty of justice.
Well, we do know though that Lon Harris and Josh Makuga, they will be going head to head out of this 5, which is really 4. So I actually messaged Christian to kind of get some clarification on how this 3 matches in one day thing is going to go down. So what's going to happen is, well, we already know that Lon and Josh are going to have a match, and that's going to be a Patreon exclusive match at the end of the month. It's going to drop the same day actually as the Bibiani Roca title match, but it'll be exclusive to Patreon first. So that means that Lon and Josh don't get the magic number, which means it leaves Janine, Ben, and Chance. One of those 3 is going to get the magic number, and then whoever doesn't, those 2 will play a match, and then the winner of that will play the winner of Lon Harris and Josh Makuga, and then that winner will get the 8th and final spot. What I asked Christian is how are the matches going to be aired, and each match will be 1 episode. So you're going to get each episode. It's all going to be taped in one day, but they're going to release them 1 day at a time.
It'll be a staggered release. Is what you're saying.
I'm assuming if they stick to the current release schedule, it'll be a Tuesday, Friday, and then a Tuesday, and then probably that Friday will kick off the singles tournament. Maybe.
Yeah, but every now and then, whenever you had something even like the Inner Geekdom, we would see sometimes multiple matches. More than the Monday, more than the Tuesday. Sometimes it'd be doubled up. Sometimes there would be 2 matches in one show. Is what I'm saying.
Could
be. Maybe you see the 2 matches on Tuesday and then the big match on Friday. The winners of the 2 matches. So anything can happen. I once again though, I think Ben Bateman, if he's still up to get
actually Christian is saying they will be airing it in 3 separate days. So I don't think we'll have a doubleheader there.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be over 3 days. Okay, my apologies. Okay. But Ben Bateman, what do you think the odds are that he gets the magic number? I think he's got to be in the tournament. He's got to be in the tournament.
I think he obviously. I think they all want it really bad, but yeah.
Like that, I just made that up. Action Army.
Did you? No one's ever done the two stick people.
I don't know. Piece up, A-Town Down. Action Army. I don't know. I just made it up.
Okay,
but continue.
Yeah, I think Ben really does need to be in this tournament. He's got a lot to prove. He feels like he has a lot to prove. And a tournament is no better way to do that. Can he do it? Sure. I mean, but if Chance is in that 4-way battle, that's very tough. I mean, Chance is no slouch from what we've seen of him. Janine, obviously, was at a number 1 contenders triple threat match. That doesn't happen by accident. So there's a lot of tough competition going on in there, and if Ben can get out of that, can he make a run in the tournament? That's going to be pretty tough. Because that means if he was to accomplish the ultimate go, he's going to have to go 5-0. Because he's going to play 1 more match than the others that are already in the tournament.
That's true.
Proper.
I think that he could do it, though. I mean, although, all due respect to Ben Bateman, he's had an up and down singles career this year.
Yeah.
It's been really hit or miss, and I think more hit than miss. And like I said, I'm a member of Action Army, But 5 matches in a row. Let's be honest, 5 matches in a row is a tough task for anybody. I mean, very little people.
Not a lot of people have done it. Let me actually just look up how many people have done that in the singles.
I mean,
I want to say like
most recently in singles. I don't know. I know we do know that Mark Konopik and Enter Geekdom has made a great run, undefeated 5-0, or 5 matches in a row. Who else? I mean, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I know that it has occurred prior to.
So here
Mark
we go.
Konopik.
We got the other people to do it in the singles tournament. It has only been Dan Merle's done it.
Yes.
Mark Riley has done it.
Yodi.
Christian Harloff on his revenge tour of sorts did it.
Revenge tour.
And Sam Levine has also gone 5-0. That happened during his 7-0 streak. So only 4 people have gone 5-0. If the wild card winner does it, they will be the 5th person only.
And I think that would be history. I mean, just to see somebody run the gauntlet like that for the singles championship or singles tournament, I would like to see it. But
real
so
quick,
when are we
just
going to
to
find
note-
out? Do we know, though? Do we know when we're going to find out who the Magic Bean holder will be?
I don't know. That hasn't been revealed as far as I know.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's going to be. I would assume that has to be revealed in the Lon Harris Josh McCougan match.
Right, because we're going to need to know the rest of the competitors in the tournament.
Right. Yeah.
So you would hopefully, maybe they're going to announce it on Instagram. Maybe they're going to announce it via Patreon. Something's going to happen. We got to know who the Magic Bean holder is going to be. That's what I'm calling them too, by the way.
I think they're going to do it, lottery style, like with the midday lottery pick numbers. It's going to be one of those things.
So let's talk about this. Christian Harloff has teased a plan for next season and hopes to make an announcement after Spectacular. Give me sources, Frank Janisch. Is this a big announcement? Do you know what the announcement is?
I've gotten little nuggets here and there.
Okay.
And I gotta say, if you've always believed in Christian's vision for the Schmoedown, you are very much going to be on board with what I think is going to be a part of what he has to announce. I'm excited for what he has planned for next year. Whether or not I do believe it's going to come to fruition one way or another. That's just the way Christian has operated this entire thing from the start. So I'm very excited to hear an official announcement if it is in fact the nuggets that I've been hearing. It's going to be very exciting stuff. And if you thought this past season has been great, he has plans to make it the next season, make it better than this one. So
that's going to be a high bar. That's a high bar. Boy, and here's the thing. We can speculate on what it's going to be. Frank Janisch has insider information that he chooses not to share with Chris or myself, and that's fine. But I don't want to get the man in trouble. He's just earned his stripes back. So let's talk about the October Patreon exclusive. October, November, and December. We do know in October we're going to see a horror fatal 5-way. This is good. We're going to see Bibiani, Mark Riley, Mark Andraco, and Haley Fauch. Haley Fauch and the Scream Queens. I saw how you wrote that. You were confusing to me. And we're going to see the Scream Queens competing, individually against one another. That's a pretty heavy lineup, although I think the winner is Mark Riley.
Yeah, you would think so, but Bibiani's also in there, and he's no slouch. And real quick, we need to note, in case you haven't seen the post that Christian put out on Patreon and the Facebook page, he did note that, it's obvious that there's no Perry or no Clark Wolf in this match, and that's because scheduling did not allow them. So Christian was wise to put that in his announcement as to not get his head bitten off by everybody in the community.
Because they were ready. They read it, they're like, wait a minute.
What is this?
Where's Clark Wolf? Perry never off. I need him in the match. They're going to have to go crazy. I was getting a little nuts right there. And then in November, this is good. Oh, this is so good. Movie release dates. Fatal 4-way. Ben Bateman. Adam Lavick. Do I say Scott Mance? And then finally.
Yeah, you didn't want it to happen. You were like, he should stay retired.
I didn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
And Sam Levine coming out of retirement for a movie release date's Fatal 4-way. He's like Shawn Michaels, going to wrestle in Saudi Arabia at the Crown Jewel after 8 years. He's coming out of retirement, brother. Sam Levine. It's only been like 3 months, but he's coming out of retirement. And he's gonna
Can't stay away. He can't stay away.
He can't stay away. He's going to face Ben Bateman, Scott Mance, Adam Lavick. This is a phenomenal match. I got to think that the over-under on Adam Lavick actually walking out with the dub is very slim. He's probably like a plus 475, and I want to take it. That's who I'm calling right now. I want to take that. I like those odds. I'm betting $1, and if I win, I'm betting $100. And if I win, I'll get whatever the math works out to. I'm not a genius here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a genius. But I'm excited about this match. I think this is probably my most anticipated of the exhibition matches. Movie release dates is something that I don't want to say I'm pretty good at, but you say a movie, I get it within 2 years. I know that's not saying a lot, but I can get it within 2 years. It might be 92, it might be 90, it might be 94, but I'm going to get it within 2 years pretty much every time. So I always love testing myself in movie release dates, and this is probably my most anticipated match. And Sam Levine out of retirement, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's
an exhibition, so it's not singles proper.
Right. It's gonna be. I love that we're doing these exhibition matches now. We've gotten Jurassic Park. We're getting the horror, and now movie release dates. We had to kick it off was that underground 5-way that was hidden from view for months on end before they decided to do this exhibition style stuff. So it's been a lot of fun to watch these exhibition matches so far. And if you're not part of the Patreon tier that allows you to see this, or even part of the Patreon to begin with, because at any level, you will see this match. It just depends what level. You'll see it 2 weeks later if you're below the $10 level. But if you're at the $10 level, you'll see it as soon as it drops. If you're anything below that, you'll see it 2 weeks later, as long as you're a member of the Patreon. So, like, if you're just $1 Patreon, you're going to see it 2 weeks later. I highly encourage anyone who's not a part of the Patreon to at least hop on the $1 level, wait 2 weeks, see the match. They're a lot of fun. I wish I could tell you more, but you got to see it for yourself.
I'm excited. In December, we're going to see Christmas movies. We don't know who's going to be involved in that yet. But Frank, we're going to break down the upcoming schedule at the end of the show. Okay. So let's get into the matches that were. We already talked about the 1-0 record of Evil Geniuses. Now the Harris brothers, Lon Harris, JTE, they went up against you and I's favorite, the Wildberries.
Yeah.
In an interesting match. How would you describe this match, Frank Janisch?
How would I describe this match? Lopsided. Unfortunate.
Another apropos descriptor.
Sad.
All caps.
Yeah. It was a bit lively at first, but, then it just dwindled. It dwindled. It was a car crash. Wait, what was it that line that Chris said one day about it was a runaway freight train on a Chris, help me out. How would you say?
It's a runaway train on a broken track, a ticker on a bomb that you can't turn back.
There it is. Oh, mamacita. That's what this was, but with more flair and pizzazz and more oomph
and wildberryness. Well, first of all, I want to say though, my favorite thing about the match wasn't the match at all. It was the pre-match, pre-roll cold open. Walk me through it, Frank. We saw Josh McCouga, we saw Elliot Dewberry, and then we saw
Ricky Hayberg.
Yeah, Ricky.
He went full Wildberry, man. He went full Wildberry. He's drinking the juice, and I'm loving it.
He's drinking the Kool-Aid. Jim
the
Jones
berry
style.
Juice.
You know what I mean? The berry juice. The berry juice is dripping down his chin, brother. We've got Josh McCouga, Elliot Dewberry, Ricky now, all in cahoots. But unfortunately, it did not go past round number 1 in this tournament. Just talk to me overall, Frank. Give me the score for round number 1, and we'll kind of do a brief overview because there's not a lot of meat here.
Yeah. JT and Lon, they both answer 7 for a total of 14 points to go up against Dewberry and McCouga's 7 points. McCouga misses.
He made 7 total, not 8.
Yeah,
7 total. Yeah.
Josh missed his first 3. And he ended up answering only 3 in that round. Elliot Dewberry answered 4, so 14-7. Whew, that's just rough. That was rough. And look but still, the story here, and it would have been a big story had JTE been able to remain in the tournament, but JTE and Lon, man, 7 points each, missing that that release date question. That was the only one they both got wrong. So, man, these guys
they could have done it.
They could have done it. Could have, would have, should have.
We don't know what's going to happen with the Harris brothers. Like, once again, we know nothing about Jonathan Harris, but they were very impressed. When I saw that round 1, it was kind of like,
not many debuting teams get 14 points. Shirewolves is one of them that has done it. I think critically acclaimed. I think maybe got 15 or 16 points in their debut. I have to double check that number, but there's very few teams
16
that
because Chris Clark has it tattooed under his eye.
Is it? Yeah. Just look at Chris Clark and you'll know the answer.
He looks like Tekashi 6ix9ine.
But very few teams get 14 points as a debuting team, let alone an anarchy team, right? So, it was impressive.
I when I saw that 14, like I said, I was like, oh man, this is a very stone cold team. I didn't, when you look at it on paper, you're like, okay, yeah, JTE, former team champion, the greatest team of all time, and the Patriots, they can have an interesting run here. I got to look at the bracket. Would it have been possible to see the Odd Couple versus? Yeah, it would have been possible.
It would have been
at
them,
some point. It'd been so good. It'd have been so good. It'd have been so good to see JTE on one side, Jeff Snyder on the other side.
Yeah. Oh, God, could have. It was a possibility. It was set up as a possibility.
It was set up that way, but unfortunately JTE pulls out. But when I saw that 14 points, I was like, these guys, once again, they're my pick. They're my pick. They were my pick to go all the way. Now I got to change my pick, which is very unlike me. But I got to change my pick now.
For the first time ever. Else.
Yeah, I got to change my pick. But they would have been my pick. Had they remained together,
right,
they'd have been my pick. They would have been my pick. Let's talk about round number 2. Give us the stats there, Janisch.
Well, Evil Geniuses, they go first. They end up on 80s. They end up scoring, 10 points out of a possible 12. Very, very impressive run. Wildberries, they end up on Kevin Smith movies, and they end up with 8 points. They do give up a 1-point steal to JT and Lon, which I think is a victory all in of itself, to be quite honest. They only gave up 1 point to those guys. That's pretty impressive. So it was 11-8 in that round, but overall it was a 10-point lead for JT and Lon, up 25-15 going into that final round. It was incredible because you didn't know if the Wild Bears were going to get out of the second round. They had to answer that 2-pointer no matter what. They needed 2 points to get out of the second round and not get KO'd. Instead, they just ended up getting TKO'd a question later.
Obviously we saw how the match ended. TKO for the Evil Geniuses. Did you see? Was there any hope at any point for you in this match for the Wildberries?
No.
Chris, what did you think when you saw round 1 and then you saw round 2 with the Evil Geniuses, a dominating performance? It didn't really matter. Here's the thing, is I think a lot of people say, well, of course it was a dominating performance because they went up against the Wildberries. The Wildberries are the bushwhackers of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. They're just here to have fun and entertain us, but there were still numbers on the board. It didn't matter who they would have gone up against. It would have been a tough task for any team.
After Lon and JTE both missed that second question in the first round, collectively, they didn't miss another question the rest of the match. They ran the table the rest of the way in that first round, and they answered all 6 of their round 2 questions and didn't have to answer a question in round 3. So they missed 2 questions the entire match. They went 21 of 23. Man, what a team that could have been. What a team that could have been.
And I think that it's going to be, when we look back and we do our year-end wrap-up of this season, I think it's going to be the biggest, what if on the table, the what if of the 2018 season. What if, they would have stayed together? What would have happened? And it's going to be interesting to see the Harris brothers, and then that'll kind of give us a better it kind of give us a better outlook and better vision of what is and what could have been. But such a great performance, and it's really, really upsetting that we're not going to see this team going forward. And it's even more upsetting we're not going to see the Wildberries going forward in the tournament.
Will
we see the Wildberries for the rest of the year? I don't think so. I think this was it for them for the rest of the season.
I mean, they could crash a match or crash a post-match interview or something. They could drunkenly stumble upon the stage at Spectacular. You never know.
I would like that. I would like to see them.
I think everyone would like that.
Yeah, I'd like to see them crash the party there.
I mean, they got to be in the Spectacular pregame interview stuff. You know how they usually have to walk around with Jen? They got to be up in there, you would think. I mean, come on. That might be our last glimpse of this year.
Would be, we got to get them. We got to get them.
Yeah.
We got to get them.
Absolutely.
One more time. But, okay, let's talk about, though, what I thought was the match of, I don't know, there's been so many great matches in this Anarchy tournament, to be honest with you. There's been so many great matches, and I think each week we have a new greatest match of the tournament so far. And I think this one might be 1A, 1B with what we saw last week, last Friday with Tate the Cannoli and the whatever their name was. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
The Righteous Brothers.
I was about to say the Crazy 80s great. Whatever. Gosh, Jesus, it's late, and we're recording this on a Friday evening after a week of getting my brain fried, and I got reality wrestling tomorrow. Doesn't matter. The Righteous Brothers, Tate the Cannoli, phenomenal match. This one I think is 1A, 1B with that match, and I really enjoyed seeing the Paddington 2 and the Odd Couple. The Odd Couple had a great first round. We had Alonzo Duralde on here to talk about the Paddington 2 and their accomplishments in round number 1. I thought going into it, it was perhaps the most, at least to me, the most evenly matched match up so far we've seen in the tournament, where I was like, really, you could flip a coin to see who's going to win this match, and you're probably going to be right. You know, I mean, it was really a toss-up, pardon the cliche analogy, but it really was. And I was excited. I kind of had my money, though, on the Odd Couple. That's not just because they won. I just thought that they have a really good foundation of knowledge. They have Roxy Stryer, who's helping them out, right? And they've talked about how beneficial she is to have around. And then you have one half of the greatest team of all time in Jeff Snyder. So I thought that the money was on them. But then on the other side, you got Alonzo Duralde, someone who we know is a beast. And then you have Matt Atchity, someone we really know is a beast, going back to Rotten Tomato MODOK days. So I thought that Odd Couple would pull it out, but I was very uncomfortable making a selection.
Yeah, absolutely. And they mentioned up top of this episode, Christian, that it's really a pick'em. It really was. This is a true pick'em, especially given the Anarchy format, with Andreyko and Snyder trying to still, Andreyko even said, you work with people all the time you don't like, and you got to make it work. I thought I was very apt for this scenario. Matt and Alonzo, they've been friends for a while, been working together for a while, so in that department they kind of have a leg up. But like true professionals that Andreyko and Snyder are, they figured out, what they got to do and how to work together to win. And but you never know if that's going to come to fruition during the match. You hope it does. And this is what made for a really great match, a really hard match to pick. I have to imagine a lot of brackets were broken one way or the other. Whether you picked the Odd Couple, whether you picked the Paddington 2, I think a lot of brackets got probably. If you had perfect ones, they're no longer perfect anymore. Maybe a few of you still have perfect ones. But this was a great, great matchup, and I was excited to see this one for sure as the opening match of the second round.
Yeah, I thought this was a great way to kick off round number 2, and I thought it was a pick'em fight. I don't know. I'd like to see. Tweet us your brackets at SD Rundown. Let's see if you still have a perfect bracket, and be honest about it. Don't be one of those guys. Nobody likes those guys.
Screenshot your email.
Yes. Screenshot it. I want a timestamp on that some gun and prove to me that you have a perfect bracket thus far. But I'll tell you what. Talk about perfect. Mark Andreyko almost had a perfect round in round number 1. Talk to me, Frank.
Yeah, I was very happy to see Andreyko play this way. Again, he usually hovers around 5 points in the first round. For him to hit 7... and for him to outperform Snyder, something that JTE only did once, maybe twice in their entire time together as the Patriots. For for Andreyko to have even if it's just 1 point better than Snyder, that's still impressive stuff. And it was a hell of a showing from Andreyko and Snyder both in this first round. 13 points. Again, that's nothing to sneeze at. And Patty Team 2 had 11 here. Alonzo and Matt both went 5 and 6 points respectively. So I think Alonzo probably could have done a little bit better. He probably wishes he did a little bit better, but it is what it is. 2 points is nothing to sneeze at. A 2-point deficit, rather. Nothing to sneeze at, especially when you're up against players like Andreyko and Snyder. This was a fantastic way to start off this match, because it really did set the tone for the rest of the match, and it was fantastic.
You know what, though, off topic for just a half second, who sneezes at things? What a-hole is the person sneezing at things? Who projects their sneezes to a certain direction or to a certain object? I just broke down. You said it's nothing to sneeze at. Who is sneezing at things? We need to get these people out of our society. These are like, people who hawk loogies on people at sporting events. These are like the people in Puerto Rico at wrestling events who fill up balloons full of urine and throw them at the heels. These are the people. These are the lowest common denominator of our society. Who's sneezing at things, Janisch? Who are they?
Well, I don't know that this was supposed to be a literal thing, but
who are the people that are sneezing at things?
I think it was just kind of a metaphor.
But a metaphor.
Like if you're allergic to something,
he's smart like a fox. He's as quick as a jackrabbit. Those metaphors make sense to me. Sneezing at something.
Well, those aren't really metaphors. It's more of statements of an animal's ability.
Those are similes.
Yeah,
similes,
I don't know.
Metaphors. They're cousins. They're cousins in the grammar game. I just want to know who is sneezing at things. Who is like looking at something and be like, you know what, I want to sneeze on that.
After we finish this topic, we should really then discuss the topic of the Texas education system. I think we should probably get into that.
Well, you know what? We need to get rid of Common Core.
Here we go. Get on your stump.
We're just, we're standardized testing. Just get rid of it all. No, I don't know. I just was trying to be funny. Okay, but it's definitely nothing to sneeze at. I think Alonzo, I don't know. Do you think that he had a drop off a little bit? Now, let's not talk about it. We'll get to his round 2 in a minute. But, as far as, do you think that there was any, I don't know, did you think that, because you said you think that he'd like to have done better, he still did okay. Was there, or do you think there were any factors contributing to him not giving his full performance in round number 1? Or do you think that it was just happened to be the luck of the draw when it came to the question?
Yeah, it's probably more luck of the draw. And we get back to that, what was that animated question that only Andreyko got right? So, I mean, like, stuff like that. I don't think is something that he's going to hang his head, too low about. But, you'd like to do better than 5 points, because if you want to be a top contending team, you want to be in that 6 to 7 range consistently, which he's fully capable of. So, and you want to perform your best against. What's that?
You just think it was the questions that he got. These are just not his. These weren't in his bag.
Yeah, I just think he just got sniped at the wrong time here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that he is a phenomenal player, as we see in round number 2. Now, before we get into this, we know that holiday films was a strength of Mr. Duralde's, right? Mm-hmm. He actually wrote a book, Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, available in paperback and on Kindle. But
there you go.
We knew that, but I did not know this, and I should have known it. He revealed in the post-match interviews that the players, at times, get to select some of the slices on the wheel.
Yes,
I did not know that.
I feel like that was information I knew before, but I just didn't recall. And then when I heard it, I go, oh, yeah, that does sound familiar.
I always thought it was during the championships, but yeah.
Well, that's for spinners and opponent's choice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's been...
But yeah, that makes sense because Brienne said that she wanted to have Julia Roberts on the match reel when in her first match with Self-Righteous Brothers, and that's why she was proud of that. So, yeah, I guess it's a new thing.
Yeah, I get it might be something new. What do you think of it, though, Frank? Do you think that takes away at all? Do you think it adds something to the match? I mean, I just don't know. I always imagine it being random.
Yeah,
and it's not fully random.
It's not from how he described it. It doesn't sound fully random. It seems like maybe you get a couple slices to pick. They get a couple slices to pick. So
to me, it sounded like maybe they each get one. Like,
or maybe that could be the case.
That's at least how I processed it.
Whatever the case may be, and I'm sure Christian will message us later and clarify. He'll. I think that's where some strategy comes into play. That's where you got to know your opponent. You could pick a category that you're strong in. That if you don't do your homework, your opposing team could also be strong in that category. So therefore, now instead of just they're adding just one of their strengths. Now you've inadvertently added a second strength, even though it's a strength of yours. So I think there comes some strategy involved there and knowing your opponent there, which makes the game a little bit more interesting. That isn't necessarily in front of us, so obviously.
Yeah, no, and that's you kind of got to the point that I wanted to make was I think that it's good. I didn't know that they did that, but I think that it's good that they do because it adds another layer of intensity and drama to the game. Are they going to get their slice? Are they going to get what they want? Are they going to do it? Oh, he landed on holiday movies like Alonzo Duralde did. He landed on the category that he wanted, holiday movies, and hallelujah did he ever perform at a very, very holiday high level. They call them the high holidays for a reason. Holy, you know what? I don't want to curse this close to Christmas.
Okay.
But that's a Southern saying. That's a Southern saying, Frank Janisch.
What's that?
It is. Yeah, I don't want to cuss this close to Christmas.
That's a saying. It sounds more like just like a general sentence.
No, it's a saying. They say it when it's close to Christmas.
Okay, put on a shirt and I'll believe it.
Damn it! Don't make me cuss this close to Christmas. It's a thing. It's a thing that we do down here in the South. But he got holiday films and he ran the table. Matt Atchity took the round off. Didn't have to do much.
Except for that one elf question. The one elf question. Yeah.
Was it elf or was it the Home Alone question?
It was the elf question because he knew his spaghetti that Buddy gets obsessed with.
Right. The Home Alone question that Alonzo went to multiple choice on was just a, come on, brother. How you doing these really great obscure Thanksgiving films? And you don't know you can't give Fuller Pepsi. He'll wet the bed. How do you not know that one? That one was like, oh, come on, brother.
And I know, I'm not here to bag on Skaliski, and I don't know if he didn't vet the question or if he wrote the question, whatever the case may be. It said in the question, Fuller was described as a brother when in fact he was his cousin. So I doubt that tripped up Alonzo and Matt with that whether it was cousin or brother.
It did make me go, oh, that's his brother? Now,
I mean, real life.
It's his real life brother. Yeah, it's his real life brother. Yeah, my good friend, by the way, Macaulay Culkin, who gave me these bunny ears.
Oh God, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Every time he comes up, I got to say that.
It's amazing how much he's come up. Actually,
he comes up way more often than he should.
He does.
For a guy who's really only given us like 3 movies,
I know
he comes up a lot.
Right.
Shout out to Mac, though. You're my guy. Hey. Power to the people. But I was surprised that he got Fuller wrong. But other than that, what was it? What did they end up going in that round? How many points did they get?
They got 11 points.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 11 points. Yeah, 11.
Yeah, and they were up. I think that was a total of 22 at the time, which means not the Patriots, the odd couple would have had to have a pretty good round. And they go and they spin modern classics.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've gotten clarification on this before, but remind me, what is modern classics?
Yeah, you want me to remind you?
Yeah.
It's funny, because I was going to say the exact same thing to you. I want to say, 80s, 90s movies in terms of modern classics. I want to guesstimate in that region.
Chris, do you know?
Like what that entails?
What decade?
The date rate.
I would say modern classics would be kind of like whatever, like a modern classic would probably be late. I would say modern classics would be 90s to today. Kind of like maybe like Beauty and the Beast or Breakfast Club or something.
Yeah, 80s.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Like Raiders, The Lost Ark, Back to the Future.
National Treasure, that stuff. Like kind of like what you would...
No. National Treasure. I like the movie. I don't know if it's a modern.
I like it. A modern classic. I don't know.
Well, I
like Aliens would be.
I think that with modern classic, it's like classic movies are like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe 70s onward. Like
maybe.
Yeah. I would say like classics are like your
I don't know. I'm sure
Humphrey
someone
Bogarts and stuff.
Chris will hop in the
yeah.
Chris will hop in the comments and let us know.
And roast stuff.
Chris will let us know. But a classic for a car to be considered a classic, it has to be 25 years or old. Right. So maybe we go from 92 to 20. I don't know. Yeah. By the way, has everyone seen the Aladdin trailer?
The teaser.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of exhibition shots.
It's a bunch of sand.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was great.
A lot of sand and a lamp. Cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
You hear the music?
Yeah, it was fine.
Arabian Nights sounded really cool.
It's not like I haven't heard the song before.
Who do you think? Do you think Gilbert Gottfried's going to voice the parrot?
No.
Do we know?
I hope it's Danny DeVito or somebody.
It's not. It's John Oliver.
Oh, it's John Oliver. That's what I mean.
Isn't it? No.
John
Oliver. Thinking of, that's
Toucan Sam.
Yeah.
Lion King. Well, Toucan Sam.
He's not Toucan Sam.
Oh my god.
Toucan Sam in Lion King, though. Why not? What is the parrot's name? What is the parrot's name from Aladdin?
Iago.
Iago.
Yeah. Iago. Yeah. Iago. Yeah. So I wonder if Gilbert's gonna. I would like that. I would be a fan of that.
I'd be a
fan of that. But Naomi Scott, Princess Jasmine.
Enough said. I'm quoting Bernie Mac in Ocean's 13. Enough said.
Mr. Benedict. Enough said. Okay. Off topic. Sorry. So Modern Classics is spun. There's some back and forth between the two competitors as do we take it? Do we not take it? What do you think? What do I think? What do we think? And Christian was flabbergasted. He was He was just upset and beside himself that they would not even, take this category just off top.
I also think he's one of the people that really pushed to have a modern classics category to begin with.
Jeff Snyder?
No. Christian Harloff was. I think he really likes the idea of a modern classics category. I think he said that before. I could be wrong. But yeah, I was a little. That's true. It'd be like the fourth time minimum.
Something.
Maximum. Okay, maximum. That's better than minimum. I don't know why I said minimum. I should have said maximum.
I bigged you up when I shouldn't have.
I know. Yeah, it is late, folks. Okay.
It is.
But yeah, I was kind of surprised they go away from modern classics because maybe they weren't familiar with the date range. Maybe that was... although they could have asked, I would assume.
I'm sure they would have been given clarification on that. And I'm surprised they didn't go with it, too, because it's a fresh category. That means top layer questions.
Oh yeah, you're talking. I mean, movies we just read out like Raiders and Aliens and Breakfast Club. All those Goonies maybe probably is in there. Terminator, stuff like that. So, but they decide to spin again and end up getting Nicole Kidman. Another fresh category.
Another fresh one. So I mean, it could have worked. It could have worked out. Either way. But Nicole Kidman, when I saw it, I was like, "What Nicole Kidman movies do I know? I know Batman Forever."
Right.
Bewitched, Moulin Rouge. I was trying to think of all the Nicole Kidman movies I know, and then when they started going through the category, I realized I knew much more than I did. But what did you think? They did a good job in Nicole Kidman giving the unknown factor of that category.
Yeah, they went 5 of 6 for 9 points, and that was just enough to keep even with Paddington 2, 22 all. They are lucky that Paddington 2 didn't get a 1-point steal when it was an opportunity, so that could have put them behind and feel some of the pressure, although, as we know, the third round played out, it wouldn't have really mattered. It would have actually mattered.
Yeah.
By one,
I think it would have mattered.
Well, no, actually, it would have been 29-25 in that case then. They still would have lost. Anyways, but still, the pressure and all that could have maybe been a factor or not. But... yeah, I thought for a fresh category, it went pretty well. I mean, they got a little I got to say, even though we're jumping ahead to here, I'm jumping ahead. You have to look at paying attention to what Jeff and Draco said in their post-match interview. That is one of the best post-match interviews I've ever heard. It's very insightful, very in-depth, and a short amount of time. And you often get a lot of theatrics in that area, which is fine. But this one, they really talked about a lot of stuff, and you got a lot of good insight. I love that post-match interview, and it really describes what their thoughts on that second round.
Well, and I want to get to that in a minute, but let's talk about round number 3. The score going into the third round, refresh my memory, it was 22 to what? 22 all. Okay, yeah, it was tied. Yeah. That's right. Okay, it was 22-22. Anything could have happened here. They go to the first 2-point question, which was comic book film. And the question was, what was the first comic book film that Jim Carrey starred in? Something to that nature.
From a graphic novel, yeah.
Yes. What was the first film based on graphic novel that Jim Carrey starred in or was a part of? And the answer was The Mask. Now, I thought, simple question, simple answer. We're moving on with 2 points. No problem. Then Mark Andreyko makes one of these incredible challenge calls, maybe the most impressive challenge call, in all honesty, in the history of the game.
That's how you're going to call it, okay.
When he called a challenge, I was like, what is he challenging? This is the right answer. There's no other answer than this. Unless Ace Ventura was based on a comic strip I was unaware of.
Right.
You know? And
easily could have been. Right.
And it could have been. So I was waiting on bated breath. And then he said that a graphic novel and a comic book are actually 2 different things. They don't share a definition. And a lot of times people mix up these 2 terms when they shouldn't. There are 2 different distinctions. There are 2 different definitions as to what they are. Now, when he said that, I thought, okay, I'm with you. It's kind of like people say ironically all the time when they mean coincidentally. Right?
Right.
They don't mean that it's ironic. You know, I never forget 10th grade English teacher, Mr. Spencer. He said, somebody explain irony to me. And I explained the plot of Pirates of the Caribbean. He said that was too detailed and he couldn't follow me. And then he said, then he said, it would be like you're on a road, a barren road, and you have a heart attack, and you fall out of your truck on an empty road, and it just so happens another car is passing by you, and that guy is a cardiologist. And I said, Mr. Spencer, that is not irony at all. That's called a coincidence. And that is what I think.
And then he sent you to the principal's office for mouthing off.
Actually, he told me I was wrong until the class was over, and he asked me to stay after class, and he was like, you're actually right. I just didn't want to give you the satisfaction of being right in the class. He said that to me. He's still a jerk for doing that. But going back to this, graphic novel, comic book, I've interchanged those definitions all the time. I've said one word over the other. And I guess they looked it up, and it is true. There are differences between a comic book and a graphic novel. I believe, is a graphic novel just an amalgamation of a comic series?
Basically, a graphic novel is essentially an anthology of comic books. So an anthology is not a book. An anthology is an anthology. A book is a book. It's the same kind of principle.
Yeah, and I think I get the distinction. Frank, I mean, they don't award the points, nor do they take points away. They give them a different question, and a much harder question, actually. But where do you
worded? Yeah.
Where do you fall on this one? Because you're shaking your head over there.
Yeah. What did you call this challenge? It was the most
the greatest call, call challenge in the history of the Schmoedown.
Okay, I think this is the most annoying challenge I've seen ever.
Oh, I didn't say it wasn't annoying. It was hella annoying.
Yeah,
it was a good call.
Here's the reason why. Basically, Andreyko's argument was you worded the question wrong. And yet, Matt Atchity, despite the question being worded wrong in that one particular section of the sentence, the question, he still got the correct answer. Whether you had graphic novel or comic book in there, the answer was still going to be The Mask. What was the first one he did? right? It's still gonna be the mask. So it didn't really matter.
So
they could chalk it up. Look at so like the desk could be like, you're right. We got the terminology wrong. It should have said comic book. However, Matt actually still got the correct answer, despite the word that should have been that was incorrect. We're still gonna give him the 2 points. He should never have gotten another question, in my opinion.
I didn't think of it that way, but it's almost like, let's go back to that Home Alone question. That almost could have been challenged.
Right? Why wouldn't Andreyko challenge if you knew that it's actually his cousin? Well, actually, Alex's cousin wasn't his brother. Oh, okay, we'll give him another question then. No, he still got the right answer ultimately. It's the same thing.
You know what? Yeah, that's a very good point, Frank. And I don't mind being wrong on this one. I think that you've kind of switched me over here. Do you think this sets a bad precedent?
I don't know if it sets a precedent, but
there's been very few things that have happened in
I can't really remember.
That changes the way that the game is played. There's a Headley and Headley kind of thing, but that's about it.
We'll get into that later, actually.
Yeah, we will. But anyway, so let's end it here. You thought that maybe not. It was an annoying challenge. You don't think that it should have been awarded to The Odd Couple?
No, because he got the question. He got the answer they were looking for, anyways.
And then that backup question. Holy hell, brother!
It's actually an easy question, but it's just the wording of that one threw me for a effing loop.
Film released
non-comic book character
that's not based on a comic book superhero character. It was directed by, and we love you, Chris, but it was directed by Steven Spielberg and his son. It was like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What the hell does that mean?
For a 2-pointer, you can make that a little more straightforward, I would think. Unless
that was more in the 3-point range.
Unless they pulled that question from a 3-point section and thought it was in a 2-point section, that's why the wording's a little different. I don't know. I'm trying to find a reason why that could have been the case.
Chris, come on, brother. Come on, brother Chris.
Yeah.
Scalis. Come on, Chris. Scalis.
They call him Scaliscu? Is that what they call him?
Right. Yeah, Ken really just screwed that one up, did he? See, I just sneezed at the floor.
You sneezed at that. You sneezed at that challenge?
I'm one of the people. That we talked about. I am the scum of the earth. Okay, so let's talk about it, though. 22-22. He gets the 10-10 question. It goes back to The Odd Couple. And then their question was what?
It was Meryl Streep and...
Oh, yeah, and there was no Meryl Streep chant, but it was about the Margaret Thatcher film, which was The Iron Lady. They got that one right. Boom. Now we go back to the 3-pointer. Alonzo Duralde, Paddington 2. He gets it wrong, I do believe.
Correct.
And it was, what was the question? Frank Janisch is going to look up the question, but he did get it wrong. I know that he got it wrong, and it was a question that I knew the answer to, which I am hitting myself in the face that I cannot remember it. But neither here nor there. When you got that 3-pointer wrong, now you're in the hole. Because 24-24, you're giving them now 2 opportunities to essentially win the game. If they got their 3 wrong, then you're back in contention here. But when you lose that 3, I think in round 3, when you lose that 3-pointer, after it's a tied game, y'all both get the first question. You're setting yourself up to lose the game. I mean, every question there is a... Go ahead. What was it?
It was the Jumanji question.
Oh, yeah, Jack Black, yeah. I was like, he said The Rock, but it was Jack Black. Yeah, okay. So that was it was who died first.
He had a 1 in 4 shot,
Yeah, he hit a 1 in 4 shot, which you could.
You don't always get.
You could almost flip their 2 and 3.
Yeah, almost. And I mean, you also don't get a 1 in 4 shot on a 3-point question all the time, So
that's what I mean. And Alonzo, obviously, I don't know if he didn't see the film or it was just kind of one of those things where he couldn't remember. I didn't narrow it down to Jack Black and Kevin Hart, and I'm like,
I didn't know for sure that it was Jack Black, but I felt confident it was Jack Black.
Well, I remember it was whoever got ate by the hippo, and I couldn't remember who got ate by the hippo. I didn't. Was it Kevin? Oh no, it was Jack Black. It was Jack Black. So, but he missed it. It's a more recent film. I can't blame him too much. And it goes back to The Odd Couple for their 3-pointer. And Frank, I'm going to ask you what it was.
Yeah, and I know this one because now I'm remembering it. How many films did Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor do together?
You have 20 seconds to answer. 3.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, I don't blame him in this situation because if you don't know it, you're just gonna have to say a random number at this point.
Yeah,
which he does, and he says 3, and it ended up being 4. So it's just one of those things.
And could he have taken a little bit more time? Perhaps it would have helped, but I don't think so. So now he throws them. As we say, he shot. Jeff Snyder shot the Paddington 2 some bail. Shot him some bail there, missing the 3-pointer. Now it goes back. 5-point question.
Yeah.
Frank Janisch.
So for the Paddington 2, they get what's Django's wife's name, right? That's the question, right?
Yes.
And Alonzo's...
Kerry Washington, the gorgeous Kerry Washington, who has Olivia Pope. Oh, my Lord. Would she drive me insane? Her and Fitz. Scandal. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Continue.
How's Farrah? So...
She's good. What's up, girl?
Alonzo says Brune. And Snyder
Brune
before...
Hill.
Yeah, and before the desk can say anything, Snyder's like, no, they said it wrong. It's broom. Like how you sweep. And...
what a great jerk, What a great heel. He's such a great heel. Nope, it's broom. Like how you sweep.
And I saw some people irked that Snyder said something before the desk ruled, and it's just like...
He knew it was wrong. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Right.
And he called it out. It doesn't matter if Christian says it's wrong, if Ken says it's wrong, if Bibiani in the crowd yells that it's wrong, or if Jeff Snyder... It's wrong. We all know it's wrong. Or I didn't know that it was wrong, but, Jeff knew it was wrong.
Right. And he clearly knew it was broom. Like, when someone clearly knows it's broom, and another person has said Brune, it's not like where I'm like, wait, what did he say? Wait, what did he say? It's not the Heedley question scenario, where it's like, wait, what did you say? Are you missing a letter? Are you saying the letter? Jeff clearly heard upon first answering from Alonzo that he said Brune, and it was actually Broom was the answer. So I don't find any kind of controversy here at all. I don't find any shenanigans going on, if you will. I just think in this case it's pretty plain and simple that it's Broom, not Brune, and there's nothing more to it.
Were you confused by the challenge here? Because I was. I thought the challenge was going to be that he said Broomhilda for a minute, but I guess, and then I figured out that it was they were challenging on if the answer was in fact Brune or Broomhilda.
Yeah.
But was that just kind of a losing challenge? Was that kind of like, I'm just going to shoot the J because you got to shoot your shot in life, and who the hell knows? It's the last question. Was that kind of what you think the scenario was? They didn't expect to have the challenge ruled in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, you gotta throw it up there because that's your last shot to potentially win it in regulation. And so you got to take every kind of effort you can to try and make that happen, because you don't want to go into sudden death if you don't have to. But
shoot your J. Shoot your J.
Yeah.
Like Frankie J does all the time with the young, fine ladies, the fine foxes in Chicago, Illinois. We go back to the Odd Couple, and they get the question of, who was the most recent director to win Best Director on his directorial debut, and his or her directorial debut. And, they didn't know at first.
Mm-mm.
This was not a team action situation where we know the answer and we're just going to delay to build up suspense.
Right.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
They had no clue at first. So what they used? They used those JTE rules. Jeff Snyder should be very familiar with the JTE rule. And, wow, that was one of the best usages of the JTE rule 3 times in a row that I've ever seen. Typically, when they go to the JTE rule for the 3rd time, either they're playing with you or they don't know the answer and they're going to get it wrong regardless. I think very few times, if at all, have they gone 3 JTE rules in a row and still get the answer correct. Like I said, if they had no idea.
Yeah, then sometimes I think we've seen. I think there was a recent match where they went 2 JTE rules and they're like, I don't know, 7. Like they had a 3rd one, but they were like, "There's no point. We're not going to pull it, even with the 3rd." Right. Whereas they went all 3. and they used every ounce of time, and they came up with Sam Mendes, and it was, Christian and Mark Ellis called it. It's that baseline fadeaway three to win the game, basically. Walk off, winner.
That's what it was.
And it was great. It was great to watch. It was great drama. It was great authentic drama. Wasn't contrived. Like, as much as I love the theatrics Action Army puts on, Team Action, this was authentic drama, and you could tell. Like, and that's suits more my palate. I like watching that if that happens more than a contrived piece of drama, even though I'm having fun with it. This was just, it was such a great match up to that point as well. You talk about the first round, the second round, and now here we are going down to the very last second to see if Draco and Snyder can win the match here on this final question, on their final JTE rule to go to the semifinals in the Anarchy tournament. I mean, it's huge. It's a huge moment. It's a huge win. It's a huge pull. It's a great play from both of them.
Absolutely, and they win with it. And the odd couple continues on in the tournament. Once again, these guys are my pick. They're my pick to win it all.
Okay, that's the first time hearing that. That's the first time ever hearing that.
So let's talk about this though, because Frank, we know that the Harris brothers are going forward. We know that the odd couple is going forward. Talk to me about this though, as we come to a close here today on the Schmoedown Rundown, episode 157.
Yeah, it's like UFC.
UFC, yes, SD 157. Talk to me about the player of the year.
Yeah. So I put out a poll earlier this week on Twitter, on my Twitter, and in the Facebook group, and I said, is it a necessity to be even considered for Player of the Year or to win Player of the Year? Is it a necessity that player to have held a win, or to held a belt, to have held a belt, or to have competed for a belt, or it doesn't matter? And the results here, the Facebook poll voted basically 53% said it was important that they won or held a belt this year. 7% said play for the belt. 40% said it didn't matter. Twitter, though, was 35% said it was important that they held or won a belt. 38% said doesn't matter. And then 27% said at least play for the belt. So it seems like the community is on the side of to have won a belt or held a belt this year. That would give us 9 people so far to have people who have played for a belt or have held a belt this year. Roca will be number 10 in a couple weeks for this season.
And the 10th person to have played for a belt?
Play for a belt, at least. Or in a title match, right.
Okay.
In any of the leagues. So right now you have Rachel Cushing, Clark Wolf, Sam Levine, Drew McWeeny, JTE, Jeff Snyder, Jason Inman, William Bibiani, and Mara Kanapik. Those are the 9 right now. And because Christian had asked me last week, who do I think is Player of the Year? Because he really doesn't have an idea of who could be. It's so tight this year. And I'm inclined to agree.
It's not as apparent as last year.
Right. It was a done deal with Sam Levine. Exactly. Yeah. And while we still have the rest of the Anarchy tournament to go, and we still have the entire singles tournament to go, I think it's still important to figure out who's in the running here and what kind of criteria are we looking at to help determine who the Player of the Year is. So, Brad, I'm really curious, do you think it's important for the Player of the Year to have won a belt or have held a belt this year? And do you think that, or what do you think are some other criteria is that it's important?
It's really interesting because I think all this is in the eye of the beholder. It's kind of like the NBA MVP is a lot of the times, especially in recent memory, or the last 2 seasons, the MVP of the league isn't always the guy who wins the championship and isn't always the guy who has the best stat line in the NBA.
Rarely ever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the person who they believe is most valuable to their team. So, last year was James Harden, who obviously the Rockets didn't win the year before, Russell Westbrook. Neither one of those men won any championship that year, nor did they even compete for a championship, or nor did Russell Westbrook average triple-double, so that was a stat there. But I think that I'm more, when it comes to the Schmoedown, in the vein of the NBA. Who was the most valuable to them, not necessarily to their team, but to the league and to themselves? Like, who gave the best showing overall this year? Not everybody gets to compete in a team match. Not everybody is going to go undefeated for an entire season. Not everyone's going to hold a championship. So we can't just gauge this debate based on those stat lines. Because if we were to gauge the person, go back to the NBA, the most valuable player of the league, somebody who's either played for a championship or won a championship every year, well, then it'd be LeBron James, since he's been in the league.
Right.
And that's not the purpose of the most valuable player or player of the year. So I think that, does winning a championship or competing for a championship help you in an argument? Absolutely. Do I think that that is the sole criterion on which the player of the year is based? No. This is what I think the player of the year is based on. There's going to be a stat line. It doesn't have to be the best stat line of the season. Just a good stat line that shows you had a good season, maybe a bit above average than everybody else, right? I also think, though, and this might be stupid, but this is how I would gauge it, memorability of the matches. Sometimes I can look back to certain games that I saw LeBron or Steph or James or Russell play, and it made me, I don't know, it just, their clutch, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We remember those clutch moments, and that's what makes some of these matches memorable, is how good are they in the clutch. And I think that's another, it's hard to put a stat on that, obviously. I know they attempt to, but it's hard to put a stat on somebody who's clutch or not. So I think that weighs into it. And I also think that there's an X factor that's in there. Are you exciting to watch? And I think player of the year should also be, do you bring in eyeballs to the Schmoedown? Now, these are just my criterion. Obviously, these aren't going to be the ones that it's judged on. But if I'm trying to answer the question, I think those are the things that I would say at least add to somebody's case for a player of the year.
Yeah, it's hard to try and balance, for me, persona and stat line.
Right.
Because when you say player of the year, I put more emphasis on how you've played.
Right.
Because it's not really, while I do take into some consideration a player's persona or how they perform, there's an award for that. It's called Heel of the Year. It's called Face of the Year, or Baby Face of the Year. And that's what I think, the performance side, the aspect, that's where that sits. Player of the Year, I lean more towards a stat line. And I'm not just saying that because I am the stat guy, or I think that way in sports in general, whether it's baseball, football, all of that. I've always been that kind of way. And I have thought it's obvious that LeBron has been the best player for the past 10-something years, right?
Right.
But the way they vote is more political in that sense over there, and it's a lot of, there's egos involved in that, and that blah, blah, blah. This goes deep. If you're into sports, you know what I'm talking about. With Schmoedown, though, I have to look, like, where do I start? I just start at the stats, and I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that I'm a big John Roca fan, and then I'm a big Rachel Cushing fan. Yes. I will not shy away from that fandom at all. I will stick by that. Can Roca win Player of the Year? Maybe.
He'd have to do a lot of things. One is be super impressive in this championship match coming up, and either that's either. And when I say that, I mean either win or put up the fight of his life against William Bibiani. And then, if he does win, what he would do in the spectacular. Or if Bibiani, you know what I mean? So if John Roca were to go on to win the championship and then do something spectacular at the spectacular, I think he could be in the conversation. But if you were to ask me right now, is John Roca in the Player of the Year conversation, I would have to say no.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
Although he had a great season debut with Top Tim, and has had some great wins along the way, including beating Team Action, both members of Team Action, sort of avenging, that rivalry, or putting a final stamp on that rivalry. So there's been big moments for John, but have his big moments outweighed other people's big moments? As of now, no.
So I based on what I was seeing from the community in the poll, I went and looked at all those 9 players, and I compiled, I crunched all their numbers into one stat line based on the leagues they were in. So obviously Rachel played in all 3. Drew, Sam, Jason Inman, JTE, Snyder, Bibiani, they all played in at least 2 leagues, singles and teams, although Jason was just teams in Inner Geekdom. Mara played in 1 league, just Inner Geekdom. And I think, I was going to try and make arguments to refute other players, but I'm not going to make arguments for or against other players that are in this group. I'm just going to make an argument for the player that I think deserves it. I'm not, and you're going to have to come at me and give me a reason why help me see a different way. But until that happens, I'm not going to go out of my way to talk about anybody else. So right now, I'm only going to talk about Rachel Cushing, because she's played in 3 leagues this year, singles, teams, Inner Geekdom. We know she's the current team champion. When you look at her current line, she is 7-2 across 3 leagues. She has 3 knockouts, 1 in each league. She has 3 technical knockouts, 1 in each league. She's answering 82% correct across all 3 leagues, and she's earned just about 77% of her available points across all 3 leagues. When you look at all those numbers compared to the other 8 players that have held a belt or played for a belt, won a belt this year, she is the top ranked player in all of those categories compared to all of them. So if she can repeat winning the title at Spectacular, or defending at Spectacular, I'm having a real hard time, stat-wise, seeing anybody else be Player of the Year, for the exception. I have come around to this, that I was really against Sam Levine being Player of the Year because he defended his belt and then won teams defended. It was first 2-time belt holder at the same time this year. And my reason was because he didn't play the whole year, but you can't deny the fact what he accomplished in half the year. It's very impressive. I think he's in the conversation. He's definitely in conversation.
I have a feeling that there's somebody else in the conversation, and I have a feeling there's somebody else in this conversation who has something to say about it. Chris Clark, who do you think is Player of the Year?
Listen, bias aside, I feel like Frank hit every nail on the head with Rachel Cushing. And if she's not the Player of the Year, I'm going to say it. The only one person has ever stood having to pee for 4 hours during a match and had that. Bibiani's performance at Free For All, I feel, even regardless of any sort of belt he has, any sort of stat he has, that stamina he protruded through Free For All for 3.5 hours. That to me is a Player of the Year. No other player this season has done something like that. And yes, you can look at all the stats, and yes, he's not as accurate as Rachel Cushing, and sometimes he and his round threes are were really rough, especially at the beginning of the season. But how Bibbs has played in the knowledge of the game, I still feel like his performance at Free For All eclipses almost everybody this season, just because of how. I hope I'm making sense, just because of how much stamina he had during that entire event. So,
but then to help your case, going on to win the championship and beating Mark Andreyko, I mean, that's a pretty big deal as well.
Even if he loses against Roka, God forbid my headphones.
Don't even put that out in the atmosphere. Don't even do it, Chris.
even if he loses that, and if he doesn't get Player of the Year, I think he's solidified himself as comeback Player of the Year.
Oh yeah,
I think that would be a good. Yeah, that would definitely be a good. Although, not to change the subject, but if say he loses the championship, God forbid, we're not putting it out in the atmosphere. We don't want it to happen to the Beast. But if he were to lose the championship to John Rocha, does John Rocha not then have a great case for Comeback Player of the Year?
I mean,
he did really good though last year compared to how Beast did.
He did good, but he can't. Yeah. But to come back and win a championship.
Yeah, but I always thought Comeback Player of the Year was how well they did compared to the year prior.
Yeah, I think I don't know if Rocha was that bad to warrant a Comeback Player of the Year. Yeah.
That's true. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm making a conversation, guys. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
Stirring the pot.
You're making me sad too. So.
What? Don't get sad. Don't get sad. There's nothing to get sad about. There's nothing to get sad about. Jeez, man.
Let me say something else too, real quick, because a lot of there's people out there who will point out or say to me, Christian has said this to me. It's not all about stats when determining Player of the Year. Okay, so what's the other thing you're looking at then? What's the other thing that we're looking at to help determine Player of the Year? What is it?
They could have very bad stats in a match and still beat the greatest of all time in Dan Murrell. They could have bad stats in a match and still beat the second greatest of all time, Mark Riley.
We're also looking at just this year. I don't care what they have done in years past. I don't care at all.
No. But I'm just saying, like, there's a difference between having a great stat line and having wins. Sometimes the two aren't mutually exclusive, and I think that the case would be with Andrew Guy. I mean, I'm not saying that Andrew Guy's a Player of the Year. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that he is. But just to say that stats aren't everything, statistically, you've said it yourself, he wasn't good in those two matches. Let's just say those two matches. But those
two
are
of
still
the three. Yeah.
Two of the three. But those are still good wins. You know, the two matches that he did win. Yeah. Those are still good wins. Now, if he were to have a string, let's just say, and this is a hypothetical, but I'm just answering your question. If you were to have a string of wins, even with, a low percentage of correct answers, I think that would still put you in a conversation for a Player of the Year if you have a string of victories, even by a thin margin.
Yeah, I could see that, but it would have to be. But it would have to be a lengthy winning streak,
right?
Like a 3-game winning streak. That's not going to do it for me. 4, 5, 5 and 6 with a mediocre stat line. That warrants Player of the Year conversation to me. 3-0. A lot of people have gone 3-0. That's nothing unheard of. But to do 4 or 5, like we just talked about, 5 and 6, that's unspeakable in at least singles, right? And even in teams and Inner Geekdom, like that's stuff that's hardly ever been attained by
a lot,
right? Yeah. So even if someone did that, and they had a mediocre stat line, yeah, I think it warrants consideration. But this whole thing about Player of the Year's stats aren't everything. You gotta calculate. I just don't buy that anymore.
You have to calculate in big wins. I think wins outweigh stats. I really do. Mm-hmm. And if you had big wins, and especially if, say, you were the underdog and you came back and you had a big win, and once again, you had a string of big wins, so I think that outweighs stats.
But that is a stat. Like big wins, like you
winning. Winning is a stat, but I guess I just mean like again. I guess it's the same argument. I guess the same argument. Yeah, but if you played somebody, like once again,
right?
If what Mara's won, but and you said it yourself, not the greatest of stat lines, especially in round number 1. But I mean, I were to go back to my hypothetical. If Andrew Guy, just for instance, were to beat Dan Murrell, Mark Riley, John Rocha, and play for the championship, he's in the conversation for Player of the Year. Those are 3 massive wins leading to a big match. That's a Player of the Year. Now, I'm sure there's a stat line somewhere in there that you could attribute to that. Mm-hmm. But I guess that's my point of big wins could outweigh, a high stat line for as far as percentage of questions answered correctly.
The one thing that I see a lot here is if someone's trying to say it's not all about stats, and they're trying to make a case for somebody else, it's because they like that player's persona, their character in the game, and I fully understand that.
Right.
But what the thing is, you're only saying that stats aren't everything because that person that you like, right, it does not facilitate their argument. If it does, then obviously they're going to point to it and say he's also the best heel in the league or he's the best face in the league.
Like being somebody who works in sports radio, that's how everybody is. In any game, any sport. It's you use the numbers to your advantage when they help make your case. When they don't make your case, you say things like X Factor and has it. You say things like that. Yeah. That's just
clutch.
The game that we play. He's clutch.
Right.
You can't put a stat on clutch. Come on, man. Those are the things that you say. So it just depends on who you're arguing for or against when it comes to these Player of the Year debates. I would like, though, a published criteria from the powers that be of what makes.
I don't know that that's feasible because
I think it is.
Maybe
Look, last year the Major League Baseball, the AL MVP was a guy who won the World Series and had one of the craziest stat lines of the year. That's Jose Altuve. I think that there was some criteria in order to be met. In order to become Player of the Year. To get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there's an eligibility requirement. Maybe not a criteria of what makes you a Hall of Famer, but there's at least an eligibility requirement.
Right, so like winning a title or holding a belt at some point in the year
is that what makes you eligible for this Player of the Year trophy? I think that, I would like to know, if we know that, then some of these arguments would be foolishness. Then we know, okay, well, it's not really, it's not all about stats. It's, okay, did you get to a championship game? Okay, you did. Oh, did you win the championship? Okay, so now you're in the conversation. Then maybe we could look at the stat line thereafter, like you have done, compiling these stats and making your case for Rachel Cushing. I understand that. I would just want to know what's your eligibility require.
Yeah, I think I'm really leaning on, especially for this year, because of the fact that Sam Levine dropped both belts, it allowed for at least 3 other people to win belts this year. So that brought up the current number that we have is 9, will be 10 when Roca plays. So that's 10 people that are eligible if you're going to make this kind of standard. People who have won belts or have held a belt this year. That makes 10 people with Roca coming in a couple weeks, or played for a belt. Because then you have to actually include Andreyko, because he played for a belt, and then you would include Brienne. She played for a team with Brian, so it's a couple other people you would throw in that conversation. I think that's a pretty good place to start, because if you're going to at least play for a belt, you're going to have actually a pretty good stat line. History shows that. You're going to be answering near like 70% just to get, that's what it takes really to get to that kind of level. And that's proven over the past few seasons, really, when you look at the numbers. And I have them all up on that crazy Schmoedown stat site. So. Right, yeah.
Well, you know what, though? I think you made a great argument for Rachel Cushing. And right now, I want somebody, like the guy who says Wu-Tang Clan's the greatest rap group of all time, prove me wrong or whatever it is that he says.
Yeah,
I think Rachel Cushing is in the running, and I think she is Player of the Year as far as Frank's argument goes. Now, change my mind. You Schmoevillians out there, the fans of the Rundown, tweet us at SD Rundown or in the comments below. Who is Player of the Year? And my least favorite question on any test, and why?
But I still want to say about Mara, though, she's played in one league.
True.
She's 5-0.
True.
Is a champ.
True.
And her accuracy is like 66% in her geekdom.
True.
Rachel Cushing's played in 3 different leagues, 7-2. What is more impressive, to play at a high level across 3 leagues or play at a high level in 1 league?
This was my argument though with Conor versus Khabib. It's like Khabib's 26-0, but who's he really beat? Conor's, whatever his record is, but, and he's had some losses, but he's gone against Floyd Mayweather in boxing. He's held 2 divisional weight champion, 2 division weight champions, you know what I'm saying, 2 division champion simultaneously. He got beat by Nate, then he came back and beat Nate. So I'm kind of with you. I think Rachel Cushing falls more on the Conor McGregor side of things, and Mara's on the Khabib Nurmagomedov. I don't know. Suspend them all. That's my answer. Suspend them all. Suspend Mara and Rachel. Just suspend them from the league. I don't know why. Just do it because it's supposed to be done like that. Interesting argument, though, Frank. But once again, I want the Schmoevillians out there at SD Rundown or in the comments below. Who should be Player of the Year and why? But before we get out of here, I do want to say the Patreon giveaway recipient for August. Which
we're in October, bro.
October. I'm sorry, for October.
Is it for October?
August, October. It's a Patreon giveaway recipient, and that person is Dwayne Joseph Burke. Dwayne Joseph Burke, you are the Patreon giveaway recipient winner. But Dwayne Joseph Burke already received his giveaway item at the live show, and it was a large photo of Sam Witwer when he won the Star Wars belt. So congratulations to Dwayne Joseph Burke.
So we got a picture that looks like this? That's basically what
I like it. I like it. So you are the Patreon giveaway recipient. And coming up in the coming weeks, Frank Janisch, as I stall so I can pull up the Google Doc that you sent to me earlier, we have some big matches coming down the pipeline. We have October the 16th, the Cinemaniacs versus Who's the Boss. We have October the 19th, Take the Cannoli versus the Harris Brothers, not the professional wrestling duo. And then October the 23rd, the Founding Fathers versus Corruption. Ooh, that should be a good one. And October the 26th, a singles title match. William the Beast of Baby Honey versus John the Outlaw Roca. Who's it going to be? I don't know. But Frank, let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29. I'm also starting to work on another podcast that will probably come out. They'll come out in about a month. We're aiming for like November 17th. So I work part-time for a tattoo studio. I do like media and stuff for them, videos and blah, blah, blah.
He's very good, by the way. He's very good. Janisch is very good.
Thank you.
Telling everybody in the room right now.
I'm not going to be on the podcast, but I'm going to help produce it and get it going, and it's gonna be really cool stuff. So it's about the tattoo industry and being like creatives. So you don't have to be into tattoos, but if you're just a creative person, learn about creative processes and stuff like that. It's really good stuff from a lot of great creative artists in that industry, and tattoo and painting and all that stuff. So about a month we're gonna get that off the ground, I think, and it'll be really cool. So I'll say some more later. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, as the legend says, I can dig that sucker. Chris Clark, what you got, man? Give us the rundown, brother.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. On YouTube at Take 3 Productions. And again, be sure on October 21st, Back to the Future Day, Brad and Frank go head-to-head for the Back to the Future. It's a Skype match. It's the Rundown Schmoedown 2. And it's hosted by, I act like I'm big fans of them, but they also two very good friends of mine. William Bibiani and Robert Maya Burnett are hosting the match, and it is just a blast, so be sure to check that out here on Collider Podcast, on Collider Factory, and it'll be streamed live, so make sure to play along in the chat at 8 p.m. EST that night.
Oh, well, I can dig that one as well. I'm looking forward to the match, Chris Clark and Frank Janisch, and also you can follow me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Make sure you get the official shirt. Make sure you get You're an Idiot. It comes from upbringing. Your parents are probably idiots, too. Available at BradJGilmore.com. Also, check out Heated Conversations. We're talking about that Conor and Khabib fight, brother, and it gets hot. Me and Booker T argue. If we were to duke it out, who do you think's going to win? Who knows? But also, check out, I forgot what my other plug was going to be. Oh, check me out next week on the Husey Hello. My man Husey over there in Ireland had me on. We're talking about all kinds of good stuff. So check me out on that show next week. I'm going to be on the same show as Stuttering John Melendez from the Howard Stern Show and Tonight Show. So exciting things. Follow me on all social media at Brad Gilmore, at SD Rundown on Twitter, Schmoedown Rundown on Instagram and Facebook. Until next week. We'll see you next week.
I did it! I ran 26.2.